Fox 10 Gulfstream. This is Next Weather.
Welcome into Next Weather. I'm meteorologist Nicholas Rabosa. With the warm afternoons we've seen lately, you might be saying, oh, I should start planting my garden. Well, hold on a minute there before doing that. Meteorologist Michael White is here to join us and explain the reasoning why. Michael?
So, we've had some warm afternoons. Temperatures have gotten into the 70s a few days this week. And I know you're probably wondering and asking yourself, can I start working in my garden? We're, about a month and a half removed from Christmas. Can I start to plant things? Can I start to make my garden grow? Well, as tempting as it is to do that, and tempting as it is to start planting things and making your lawn look beautiful and lovely, it's recommended that you hold off a little while longer. And the reason why you want to hold off is because of late season freezes. That's right, late season freezes. Although we warm up after the holidays are over, we typically have another big sharp drop in temperature. It happens almost every year. This is an average from 1991 through 2020, so this is a 30-year summary. And you can see when the last freeze is for most locations. Now down here, our color is purple, so I'm going to zoom in toward that, and you can get a better look at when we see the last freeze on average. It's usually the first week of March. Typically the first week of March. Some of you, like along the immediate coast, Gulf Shores, Pensacola Beach, Destin, yours is the last 2 weeks of February. But for most of you, it's the first 2 weeks of March. So that means by late March, by the time we get to Baldwin County spring break, that's about the time you can start planting your garden. Because you don't want to start planting early, a freeze comes, and then all your new plants die. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure you know for sure you're not going to run into any more freezes. So it's recommended that you hold off for at least another 3 to 4 weeks before you can start getting your lawn and garden into a bit of a springtime mode. It's always exciting when we start to see the flowers blossoming up. It's always a real treat to see, but it's just still a little too early. And then I want to go back to that map again. You look in North Alabama, you see those little dots of green. Sometimes their late season freeze comes the first week of April, and you need to wait till after tax day to plant something. But here on the Gulf Coast, if you wait till the last 2 weeks of March, 90% of the time you're usually good to go. And there is going to be another drop in temperature on Fat Tuesday. It looks like that's going to be our next cold morning across the Gulf Coast. And of course, that would be when we're live for Mardi Gras, right? So I will be on Good Day Gulf Coast bright and early tomorrow to start your Friday. We'll talk about weekend rain and storm chances, especially for Joe Cane Day and Lundi Gras, because the modeling is subject to change on that. I'll have the latest model guidance for you bright and early tomorrow morning. And Jason, of course, is going to talk more about it tonight at 9 o'clock. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday, and I'll see you on the air tomorrow.
And thank you, Michael, for that. And keeping with the theme of looking ahead, we talked about spring and planting flowers. Well, it's not too early to look to hurricane season as well. Hurricane season 2024. Now, I know it's only February, but we have begun to get some changes in from the National Hurricane Center that we can talk about, and also getting some early looks at some of the forecasts. So let's dive right in, shall we? This is, if you've seen this before, this is what the National Hurricane Center produces for their forecast cone. If you've ever seen it on their website, a great tool, the website at the National Hurricane Center to use, they are going to start releasing an experimental version of the hurricane cone that looks like this. And you may notice it doesn't look that much different. This is an example using Hurricane Ian, but there are just a couple changes to point out. First change here, you're going to notice all this red, this blue, and then this yellow. Those are the different watches and warnings. In fact, in red here, that's the hurricane warning that was issued for Hurricane Ian. And something different, they used to only show this along the coastlines. Now, to communicate wind risk inland, they're going to start showing the inland hurricane warnings. So that kind of gives you a better idea of where the impacts will be as the storm moves inland. Also, a more minor change, and actually I did not notice it at first, but if you have a keen eye and are very familiar with these graphics, you may notice that the end of this 5-day cone is white. It used to be completely transparent. It was just a white outline, so a very, very small change there. Let's take a look at where we are right now. These are the sea surface temperature anomalies, essentially the departure from the average sea surface temperature. This is across the entire world. And one pattern that sticks out very clearly, and we've been talking about it all last hurricane season, El Nino. It's when you see this red streak in the Pacific Ocean. Here's South America, here's North America, here's where we are. And you can see the streak in the Pacific just south of Hawaii. That is a very, very strong signal of El Nino, which typically reduces tropical activity in the Atlantic. But look at the forecast. This forecast valid for July, August, September of 2024. It's flipped. It's opposite. That's blue. That means colder than average temperatures. And in fact, look at the Atlantic as well. We can see those warmer than average temperatures as well. One clue, looks like we will be heading into a La Nina, which typically means less wind shear in the Atlantic and slightly more favorable environment for tropical development. Here's one set of models that we can use to look at the changes between El Nino to La Nina. Less favorable for hurricanes in the Atlantic to more favorable hurricanes for hurricanes in the Atlantic. And anywhere on the upper side of this diagram, El Nino. Anything on the bottom side, La Nina. And in the middle, call it neutral. You can see the trend with all of the models is towards a La Nina. That would be more favorable, once again, for hurricanes in the Atlantic. So this is very early, and this can change and probably will, but just an early indication from some of those longer range climate models. Here's a different way of looking at it. This is the NOAA Climate Prediction Center probabilities for La Nina, neutral season, or El Nino, and you can see the El Nino probabilities go way down, and it looks like more of a neutral probability or La Nina, so kind of trending towards that possibility of a more active season on the months of August, September, October. That's what those letters mean down there. Here's another thing to look at. This one is moisture. This is one of those climate models. And looking at the precipitation for July, August, and September of 2024. Is it above average or below average? And you can see this is the main development region that we talk about. This is the area where hurricanes form. More moist than average. Caribbean, more moist, and even stretching into the Gulf of Mexico. Does this mean we're going to get a fire hose of hurricanes? No, but it is an indication that the Atlantic could be just a little bit more active. So that's that early look at the hurricane season for 2024. As always, we'll always keep you updated here on Next Weather about that. Now let's take a look at that 7-day forecast. Talk about our local weather right now. Quiet conditions for Friday and Saturday, except for a few sprinkles, light showers out there. Mild temperatures, as we've been talking about. Sunday, those rain chances really do increase, 60%. We go 80% overnight. Even some rumbles of thunder possible out there, even to Monday morning as well. Light showers Monday evening. Fat Tuesday. Mardi Gras looking great with mostly sunny skies out there, and some cooler temperatures. Will start the day in the 40s, 41 degrees. So grab your jackets if you're heading out to the parades early, but then in the afternoon we warm up to around 60 degrees. That's it for us here today on Next Weather. We thank you so much for joining us.